Now there are a couple of things that you probably need to look at on your bass before you get started. Some of these are things that you want to know because they're helpful, and other things because you don't want to damage your instrument. The first thing that we're going to talk about is at the bottom of your instrument. You've got the ability to either raise or lower the instrument with this end piece attachment. And you notice there's a screw here, and you can loosen this, and what's going to happen is this bar is going to come out, and that way if you're a taller person you can raise the height of the bass up a little bit more. And if you'll notice, there are some little grooves in here, and you want to make sure that when you raise the bass that you raise it to one of those grooves and then tighten the screw in that groove. If you don't do that, the bass can slip while you're playing it, and then it can drop real fast on the end there, and you can damage this end part of your bass if it falls, and falls really quickly like that or hard. So you want to check that out. And you've noticed I've actually replaced the end of my bass with a dowel rod and then just one of these chair tips. I took a dowel rod that's about 1 inch in diameter and cut it off about 2 inches long, and then I drilled a hole in the center of it. I put it on the steel rod that I had, and then I put this chair tip on the end of it, and that way it doesn't slide all around when I'm playing, and it also won't damage the floor. The next thing that you want to take a look at is you want to make sure that you do have a sound post inside your bass, and you can see that in my bass. I am going to put a light on in there, and you'll notice that little wooden rod that's inside my bass. It's right there, and you want to make sure that that's standing. If it's not standing, then you do not want to tune the bass up because you can damage the bass. You don't want to have cracks appear in the top or have the top cave in. The next thing is, now I have what's called an adjustable bridge on my bass, and you can see I've got these little wheels here, and the nice thing about that is I can adjust the height of the strings on my bass, so I can make them higher or lower off the fingerboard. When you're starting, you're probably going to want the strings to be fairly close because it's going to be easier on your hands when they're like that. If your strings are real far away and you don't have an adjustable bridge, you're going to have to take your bass somewhere to have that bridge lowered so that the strings aren't so high that it's too difficult to play. And you can see right now I've got my strings fairly low here. You can see my finger. I actually can't get it in there between the string and the fingerboard, even at the end here. But it is high enough that it doesn't buzz, and this makes for very easy playing. And if someone likes to get their fingers under there a little bit more, the great thing is all we have to do is rotate this wheel here, and in a matter of minutes they've got the strings as high as they'd like to have them. One more thing that I'll mention is just types of strings. You can see I have a black string that's got some red winding on it, and this is called a tape wound string. This is made by Labella, and I love these strings. They're 7710 is the number on them, and they're made just for picking with your fingers. They are generally, I found them to be louder than the steel strings, and they're a little bit easier on your fingers. They don't roll around like nylon, and they give a much better sound than nylon, and I don't get blisters with these. It takes a lot longer. On a steel string I can get a blister in less than 10 minutes. On these I can play about an hour before I start to get one, and I don't play regularly, so I don't have a callus on my finger. But these are great strings. They are a little bit costly. I think the list price on them is almost $300, and we sell them here for around $200, but they are a good string. You can get strings a lot less expensive. You can go with a steel string, and you'll get a good sound with that, or you can go with the nylon if it's hurting your fingers. And all of those strings, you probably should be able to find something for under $100 for a set. But bass strings, you don't have to change them real often like you do other strings, so it won't be like every 6 months you're going to be doing this.